What happens when a city's most iconic skyscraper loses its biggest tenant? This is the Renaissance Center, 7 towers that have defined Detroit's skyline for nearly 50 years. For decades, it symbolized ambition, resilience, and the power of the auto industry. But today, the RenCen faces its greatest test yet. General Motors has announced it's leaving, while a $1.6 billion plan could demolish parts of the complex and change Detroit forever. So, is this the end of an era or the start of a bold reinvention? Let's find out. The story begins in the early 1970s, when Detroit was grappling with population decline, industrial challenges, and economic uncertainty. Henry Ford II envisioned a bold project that could reverse this trajectory. A city within a city, a towering complex that combined offices, hotels, shopping, and restaurants. Construction began in 1973 with a budget of $500 million, equivalent to more than $3 billion today. The design was ambitious: 5 interconnected towers arranged around a central plaza, creating a fortress of glass and steel. The largest, the Central Hotel Tower, rose 73 stories above the riverfront. When the Renaissance Center opened in 1976, it featured The Summit, a revolving restaurant offering panoramic views, and a series of retail and dining spaces designed to attract both business and leisure visitors. For Detroit, it was a statement of hope, a demonstration that even amid decline, the city could reach for the sky. Building the Renaissance Center was no small feat. The towers required deep foundations driven into the riverfront soil, reinforced with thousands of tons of steel and concrete. High-capacity cranes lifted enormous steel sections into place, and workers labored on scaffolding hundreds of feet above the streets. The Central Hotel Tower alone contains more than 1.2 million square feet of space, with elevators designed to whisk guests from lobby to summit in under 2 minutes. Its curtain wall of reflective glass not only created a futuristic aesthetic, but also helped control solar heat gain, a significant engineering challenge at the time. The project was a model of integrated urban design, combining office, hospitality, retail, and public spaces in a vertical footprint that few other cities attempted. 2 decades later, the Renaissance Center entered a new chapter. In 1996, General Motors purchased the complex, making it its global headquarters. The company invested another $500 million to renovate the towers. Finishing in 2003, glass facades were modernized, public spaces redesigned, and office layouts reconfigured for a modern workforce. GM's arrival reinforced the RenCen's role as a symbol of Detroit's revival, not just a landmark, but a functioning hub of commerce and innovation. The atrium became a venue for public events. The towers housed state-of-the-art offices, and the complex reflected both Detroit's industrial heritage and its aspirations for the future. Architecturally, the Renaissance Center is remarkable. The Central Hotel Tower, at 73 stories, dominates the complex, surrounded by 4 shorter office towers arranged in a semicircle. The Winter Garden atrium rises like a glass cathedral, with palm trees lining the walkways, sunlight streaming through towering glass walls, and water features creating a sense of calm in the urban heart. Retail spaces, restaurants, and sky bridges connect the towers, forming a vertical city in miniature. From a distance, it dominates Detroit's skyline, rivaling the city's tallest buildings, and stands as a visual anchor along the Detroit River. Yet despite its grandeur, the RenCen has faced growing challenges as the needs of the city and its workforce have evolved. Detroit's downtown office market has been under pressure for decades. Suburban office parks offered lower costs, more parking, and flexible layouts. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated these trends. By 2023, office vacancy rates in Detroit reached around 25%, one of the highest in the nation. Foot traffic in the RenCen declined sharply. Where once thousands of employees, visitors, and tourists moved through the Winter Garden atrium each day, only a fraction remained. Restaurants and shops that had thrived for decades saw sales plummet. The Renaissance Center, despite its iconic presence, was increasingly underused. a monument to a different era. On April 15, 2024, General Motors announced that it would relocate from the Renaissance Center to the Hudson's Detroit development, a $1.4 billion mixed-use project combining offices, retail, a hotel, residential units, and event venues. GM will occupy the top floors under a 15-year lease, leaving the RenCen without its largest tenant for the first time in nearly 3 decades. The move signals a broader shift in corporate strategy, away from large centralized towers and toward modern flexible workspaces that better fit hybrid work models. GM explained that its move is about modernization. Only 20% of pre-pandemic employees regularly use office space, and foot traffic remains below 40% of pre-2019 levels. The Renaissance Center, built for a different workforce and a different era of corporate life, could not accommodate the open plan layouts, collaboration spaces, and technological infrastructure GM now requires. The decision reflects a wider trend, where legacy office towers across the world are struggling to adapt to hybrid work, even when they remain symbols of history and pride. For the Renaissance Center, the future is now about reinvention. GM and Bedrock unveiled a $1.6 billion redevelopment plan that is ambitious and unprecedented. 2 of the 4 office towers will be demolished, the Central Hotel Tower renovated, and upper floors converted into apartments. Public spaces will expand, creating areas for residents and visitors. If carried out, this could become the largest voluntary skyscraper demolition in world history. The plan envisions green roofs, pedestrian plazas, and connectivity with the riverfront, turning the RenCen into a hub for community life as much as business. Architects describe it as Detroit's vertical neighborhood, an experiment in how a city can reclaim and repurpose its iconic towers. The plan has sparked debate. GM and Bedrock are seeking $350 million in public subsidies, which has drawn criticism from politicians and residents alike. Skeptics worry about public costs, the loss of historic structures, and whether the redevelopment can truly deliver its promised benefits. GM has pledged funding for local education and job creation, but questions remain. The project illustrates the difficulty of balancing private ambition, public interest, and the preservation of a city's identity. Detroit's skyline, once dominated by a single corporate presence, now faces a profound transformation. The Renaissance Center's future remains uncertain, but the stakes are high. A successful redevelopment could revitalize downtown Detroit, attract residents and tourists, and set a precedent for how cities can adapt aging skyscrapers to new uses. Every element of the project demolition, renovation, and public space creation will shape the skyline and the city's identity for decades to come. The RenCen has always reflected Detroit itself, ambitious, resilient, and unafraid of reinvention. Now, it faces its greatest test yet. Its fate will not only determine the skyline, but also the story of a city that has long refused to give up.